Did you know that money is one of the top ways that narcissists use to control their targets? Indeed. And by the end of this interview with Jason Crowley, you're going to know what the top 5 ways are that narcissists use money to control their targets. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zung, top 1% attorney and the best-selling author of the books Negotiate Like You Matter and Breaking Free, a step-by-step divorce guide. And I've helped thousands of people all over the world go from lives of drama, trauma, and chaos to step into lives of freedom, possibility, and purpose. And I do the same thing for you right here in these videos and on this channel. So make sure you subscribe and you hit that notification bell, and then you'll get notified when I upload brand new content, including part 2 of this interview. So this is part 1 of my conversation with Jason Crowley, who is a financial advisor and also a narcissism expert, a very rare commodity indeed. And this is part 1 of my conversation with him on the top 5 ways that narcissists use money to control their targets. Welcome to another episode of Negotiate Your Best Life. I'm Rebecca Zung, and I'm so excited to have Jason Crowley back on my show. We did a short little show a couple months back about narcissism and money and how narcissists use money to financially abuse their targets. And it was such a popular video, and it's such a popular topic that I wanted to bring him back onto the show. So welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So Jason is a financial advisor, and he's got, oh my gosh, so many letters behind his name. He's a CFA, CDRFA. I think, several different. You've definitely dedicated yourself to the world of financial planning and being good at that. But even more interesting, I think that you're probably one of the only financial advisors that I'm aware of that specializes in dealing with finances and well-being when people are either in a narcissistic relationship or coming out of a narcissistic relationship. Is that right?
Yeah.
So how did you come to have that as your target area, as your niche?
It's just something that comes up really, really frequently. So it started off kind of just more in the generic financial planning, financial advisory, wealth management space. And then from there, I kind of niched down to get more into the divorce financial planning world. And then the more work that I was doing in divorce financial planning from there, then kind of niched down a little bit again as I started seeing a lot of the financial control and financial abuse that tends to happen in narcissistic relationships. It was just something that kind of happened by chance as a result of where our practice went. And so that was how I ended up getting involved in that.
Yeah, and you have a fantastic website that has lots and lots of information and free tools, and we'll get more into that at the end where you can talk about your website, but you really have built such great resources for people who are dealing with divorcing and finances being one of the issues. So I recently did a survey of my community and found that money overwhelmingly is the biggest controlling tool and the biggest area of angst and anxiety and trauma in that my community sees. So, and we had, I think, about 400 people who responded to the survey, and in that we found that 66% of those surveyed stated that money is a tool that was used to control them. It's an agent of power, influence, and 48% said hiding money is a top concern. 22% said that their narcissistic partner controls their monthly spending, and 30% said that they were concerned that their narcissist was putting them into debt. I mean, it goes on and on. So 53% said that their narcissistic partner spend money on themselves and not to them. And these people need help. They need ideas to turn the tables and learn how to be in control. Attorneys' fees was a big deal too. A lot of my people surveyed said that they spent 87% said that they spent much higher fees than expected due to all the extra hours required to deal with a narcissist. And a huge percentage of my the people who responded said that their fees went way over $100,000. So this is a real issue. So that's why I wanted to talk about the top 5 ways that narcissists use money to control, and wanted to bring you on. And because you're the expert, So let's talk about the first way, which is cutting off credit cards. What do you see with that, and what can people do about it?
So, I mean, I think the first thing you need to do is start planning ahead of time. I think, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, as you said, Rebecca, they're going to use everything that they can to try and maintain control. And so money really is just a tool to enable them to do so, the narcissist to have control. And so all of these different ways that they use money as a tool to control are things that you have to be aware of, so that you can kind of plan ways to prevent or to take back some of the control and kind of turn the table. So when it comes to cutting off credit cards, I think the first thing you want to do is just start to build your credit. There's actually a interesting tool I just came across the other day. I think it's called Grow Credit. And what it enables you to do is actually start building your credit through subscriptions. So if you're not the person that has kind of control over your own finances, you can use a program like this to actually be able to start building credit through things like your Netflix subscription, just all the types of things that are already paid regularly. And really all this program is doing is it's starting to report those subscriptions to the major credit bureaus. And so in doing so, that will enable you to start building your credit. Now, this way, when the time comes to pull the trigger, you'll be in a position where you do have credit established and you're able to open credit cards in your own name and really start to still have a lifeline to be able to have access to capital.
Okay, so, but I'm hearing a lot of people. I can feel what the collective is going to be saying. They're going to be saying, but how do I know that he or she is going to cut off the credit cards? Or how do I know that this is going to happen? What can they do about that?
So, I mean, the first thing is you never know exactly what someone else is going to do. But you always want to prepare for the worst. And so, I think by taking some of these steps, you're really hedging your bets. And so if you've done all of the things to enable you to prepare for the what ifs, for if they do take certain actions to maintain control, to cut off your credit cards, and then they don't, great, no big deal. But if you haven't taken those steps, then you'll be in a much more challenging situation. And so I think one of the biggest things, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, is you do have to be more strategic. You do have to plan ahead. You do have to plan for the worst and recognize some of those tactics that they like to use and figure out ways that you can prepare or set the table so that you're able to deal with those tactics better than you would if you hadn't done any of those things in advance. It's much more challenging to do so if you wait and then these things happen at the last minute and you haven't taken any of the steps in advance.
Exactly. And especially if you're dealing with somebody that you suspect is either a narcissist or has narcissistic traits, then, just understand, look at the data from the survey that I just read out to you. It's more likely than not that they're going to start engaging in these kinds of tactics. So if you think that leaving might be something that you're looking at, or that they are considering leaving you, then starting to take these steps that Jason was just talking about is something that you should at least start investigating and be ready to take those steps if you need to.
And I mean, that's one of the things I hear time and time again when working with clients is they weren't able to name what this is. You know, if they weren't maybe exposed to narcissism much in the past, I think everyone's become a lot more familiar with it as a term, but the ability to tell that your partner is a narcissist, a lot of people just aren't able to kind of see clearly about that until it's too late. But the better job that you're able to do of educating yourself and understanding some of the tactics that they use, that's going to put you in a position where you're able to identify and kind of see things more clearly for what they are as some of that starts to fade. And then we start to kind of peel back the layers of the onion. So by really, knowledge is power in all of these things, because in a lot of ways, they're going to use every tool that they have to control. And so if you understand what the narcissist playbook looks like, then you can kind of develop your own playbook in response to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's a good segue into the next one, which is hiding money or moving money. And I can say that as a divorce lawyer, that a lot of times people think that there's money being hidden or moved a lot more than it actually is. You know, in today's day and age of the digital world, where, you know, you really can see any movement of money pretty much, even if you take out sums of cash, you know, where did all those sums of cash go? So, but it still doesn't help or assuage that fear that this person is going to hide money or move money and it's going to be somewhere else. And even if you can find it, it costs money to find it. And sometimes people can be really good at finding places to put it or whatever. So let's talk a little bit more about that and what you've seen and what will work for helping that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the hardest piece to track is cash. And so if you have someone who's got a cash business where they're taking in a lot of cash, that's going to be the situation where it's the most challenging to be able to track, because it really never came in to your financial ecosystem, you and your spouse's financial ecosystem. So that's the one that's going to be the most difficult to track. In the absence of that, as you said, everything is available really online and is digitized. And so there's a lot that you can do to be able to kind of get a sense. So I would say that I find that more often than not, it's a very legitimate concern that is not as grounded in reality, as when we actually really start to look under the hood and try and see, is there any hidden money, et cetera. So one of the things that I often like to do, because it is a cost benefit analysis. So I think it's a big mistake to try to get to the bottom of things for the sake of getting to the bottom of things. You really want to be smart about where you're spending money. It doesn't make any sense to spend $10,000 to recover one. And so one of the approaches that you can take is, particularly if you have a long-term marriage, is pick a year and look at that year and try to see if that makes sense. Right. And a lot of times what comes up when I make this suggestion to clients is, well, he's been planning this for a few years. So, you know, maybe he's covering his tracks. So maybe you go back a few years and actually look at that period, and you can do kind of what I call the smoking gun analysis. And you just try to get an assessment of what's the total income for the course of the year. What were the total expenses, total taxes paid? And so that should be your cash flow surplus or deficit. Has there been any gains or losses in terms of financial assets? And when you take those things together, does it make sense with what the balance was at the beginning of the year versus of your all assets versus the balance at the end of the year? And if those things line up, you know, plus or minus within reason, then hopefully that alleviates some of the concerns, because where this really becomes a challenge is if they're not hiding money and you accuse them of hiding money, or you're in your own head about the concern. If you can't move past that, you might actually have a decent settlement deal on the table that you're not willing to agree to because of this lingering concern. So you want to try to address it in the most cost-effective, efficient way that you possibly can. And
Yeah.
that's one of the ways to do it.
Yeah, I love that. So you're kind of back ending your way into that. I use that methodology when I'm looking at income sometimes, where I look at, okay, well, what has your lifestyle been? And, obviously, if you have your kids in private school and you're living in this $1 million home and you've gone on vacations and you've done all of these things, then this person is not making $25,000 a year like they say they are on their tax return. And most of the time you see that actually when somebody is self-employed, because they've been able to deduct so many things. If they're an S corp and it's a pass-through income, then they've deducted so many things off the business. So that's when you have to go back and you look at the business and you kind of start doing add backs. But it's the same sort of thing where you kind of back ending your way into, well, you couldn't have had this lifestyle unless more money was coming in.
Exactly. And then
So
if things don't add up, now now at least you've kind of substantiated that concern, and then you can dig deeper, whether it's through a full forensic analysis, whether it's through hiring private investigators to do, an international asset search and see if there's things hidden in their name, but you've avoided the unnecessary expense and escalating the conflict by doing all of those things, by first using kind of a throwing out a trial balloon, if you will, to see, is this really an issue or not?
yeah,
And that can be a huge cost savings, because
definitely.
you can spend tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars throwing really good money after bad in some of these situations.
And is that something that you help your clients do?
Yeah, I'm not a forensic accountant, so if someone wants to dig into look under every nook and cranny,
But
then
just that kind of
forensic
first
firm.
blush, like, should we even bother with a forensic accountant? You can help your clients with that.
Exactly. And we have a forensic accounting firm that we work with as our back office in situations where they want to go and dig deeper.
Right. Okay. So, and just from the attorney's perspective, I'm not licensed in all 50 states or all around the world, but I have people who have bought my programs and who watch my videos from all around the world. And so I do want to say that in general, if money is being hidden or moved or spent or whatever in a way that wasn't part of the marriage decision, and you didn't benefit from that in some way, then there potentially could be a claim for waste or dissipation or clawback or bringing that back in as part of the overall property division conversation.
Right.
That's why you wanted to make those inquiries and do those sorts of things. If it seems worth it. But again, you want to make sure that there's a good return on your investment. So using somebody like Jason, who's already managing your finances as a client, he can do, just sort of like this first blush, is it even worth it to go deeper? And then if it is, how much, and that's something that you would be able to tell them too. Hey, there's $500,000 missing over here. Okay, it's going to be worth spending a few $1,000 on an asset search person, and or maybe a forensic accountant, right? So, but if it's
Exactly.
only $10,000 that's missing, then it probably won't be worth the return on your investment. So,
Exactly. And you never want to minimize $10,000 or anything like that. I know that can be a lot of money to people, but we've got to keep in mind that there is the cost involved of going after it. And
absolutely.
everything is a cost benefit decision as you're going through a divorce or facing those decisions.
Exactly. Thanks for joining me today in part 1 of my conversation with Jason Crowley. If you like this video, give it a like, give it a share, drop me a comment, and make sure you've subscribed and hit that notification bell. If you are getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist, grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. And if you want to connect with others who are dealing with narcissists, join me in my free private Facebook group, which is Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, today's a great day to start negotiating your best life.